Today on Chicago Tribune Live, Dusty's less than fabulous Baker boys make a last-ditch effort to gain the wild card bid. But is what we're hearing out of the announce booth overshadowing the play on the field? John Paxson is hoping for more thick than thin from the Bulls this season. The Bulls GM is here to talk a little hoops. No one in the NFL has been able to stop Donovan McNabb this season, but we'll give it a shot as we go one-on-one with the Eagles quarterback. And coach Mike Ditka graces us with his presence.
I'd rather talk to him.
Thanks, Mike. And you can right now on Chicago Tribune Live. Hi, I'm Dan Jiggins, and welcome to Chicago Tribune Live. It's our very first show here on Comcast SportsNet, and we're pleased to have the opportunity to serve you, the sports fans of our great city, with a truly Chicago flavor. We got a great lineup of guests for today's show. First, from the Chicago Tribune, their very own baseball Bigfoot, Phil Rogers. And Phil, there's trouble in them there hills for the Cubs.
Not a real good time to lose 6 out of 7 games for the Cubs, and now they're counting on help from the likes of the Colorado Rockies and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And, you know, if you have some secret Cub dances, tonight's a good time to do them.
All right. Also from the Trib, the man who gets to cover all the big stories, the globe-trotting Rick Morrissey. And, Rick, I guess if you're in the media, you better not say anything bad about the Cubs, right?
Well, I don't know how you can avoid it right now, Dan. You'd be accused of being a bit of a homer, I believe, if you went any other way.
I think we have to tell Steve Stone that, though, yes. Indeed. And finally, the man who really needs no introduction. He's what Bears football and Chicago sports is really all about. He's the coach, Mike Ditka. And, Mike, I think the Cubs have allowed a lot of this outside stuff to affect the way that they play. And you always talked about not letting the distractions get to you, and it seems like they may have a bit.
Well, I'm not sure they did, really. I think you got to understand that baseball is baseball. The other guys wear gloves, they have hats, they have shoes, they hit the ball. You know, they don't know they're supposed to lose to the Cubs. The Cubs have to win those games. They didn't. They had opportunities when they lost a 3-0 game in New York. You know, I said, that's not good, you know, but then they lost another one, and then they come back here, and it's the same thing. They just aren't winning games that they could win, and, you know, it's they're good. They're a good team, but they're just going to be a little short this year.
And the Braves are a very good team, as they show today. Gentlemen, in a little while, the man who was just named NFC Player of the Month, Eagles quarterback and Chicago native Donovan McNabb, will check in with his thoughts on returning to his hometown this weekend. But first, let's get to those Cub highlights in their wild card chase against the Braves. Now, the Cubs trailed 2-1 in the fourth wood, facing Braves pitcher Mike Hampton, and this just about sums up the season for the Cubs. Another 2-run homer. This one into the left center field bleachers, and the Cubs are in a 4-1 hole. Now, the Cubs entered the ninth inning trailing 5-1 and had to cut the lead. They cut the lead to 5-3 when Jose Macias singles to the drive and the pinch runner Calvin Murray, and the Cubs trailed by just 1. But after Corey Patterson struck out Derek Lee, hits one up the middle that goes off Kevin Grabowski and rolls to Rafael Furcal, and Lee is thrown out to end the game. The Cubs lose a heartbreaker. This one by the final of 5-4. So the Cubs come back, fall short, and they drop yet another 1-run game. Mike Hampton gets the win. Kerry Wood the loss. And here's Dusty on that loss.
I mean, how often are you going to see two-run homers by the eighth hitter and the pitcher? I haven't seen that in a long time, and you know, like I said earlier, whenever you lose a one-run game, there's always a situation where you know, there's a runner on third, less than 2 outs early in the ball game that comes back to haunt you, and you know, it was I mean, damn, I just knew we were gonna win that game. We start coming back. I mean, we're due to win one of these. Jeez, man, can't explain it. I mean, the guys are fighting with every ounce of energy they have left. You know, this has been a long stretch here, not only physically but emotionally. But we just got to keep fighting. We got 2 more to go. I mean, we gotta win these.
All right, we have Kerry.
All right, now before the game, there was some controversy. Announcer Steve Stone, one of the best in the business, I think, had to address the situation with Cubs manager Dusty Baker because of these comments made following last night's heartbreaking loss. So the truth of this situation is that an extremely talented bunch of guys who want to look at all directions except where they really should look and kind of make excuses for what happened. At the end of the day, boys, you don't tell me how rough the water is. You bring in the ship. The best 8 teams go on. Other teams go home. The season could have been won. They could have won the wild card by at least 6 or 7 games, no doubt about it. They have the talent to do that. They are life and death right now. And that indeed was the situation. Let's go on out to the ballpark. That's where we find our Gail Fisher. Gail?
Hi there, Dan. Yeah, I think you summed it up earlier when you said a lot of distractions. I think this entire season has been one of disappointment and distractions. Whether or not the Steve Stone situation had anything to do with the way the Cubs played today, I don't think so. But I did talk to Steve Stone before the game, and Stoney said that he thinks the situation with the Cubs and his comments is completely resolved. He met with Andy McPhail, John McDonough, Jim Henry, and Dusty Baker before the game and ironed everything out. However, I think the Cubs were pretty upset with some of the comments Stoney made yesterday. It wasn't just one single comment that Steve Stone made. It more had to do with the fact that his tone, his overall tone, seemed to be taking it more to a personal level, and that's what the Cubs took exception with. And like I said, Steve Stone was in a closed-door meeting up until about a half hour before game time, and that's when I caught up with him. Can you confirm or deny any truth to the rumors that you've been fired?
I don't know what you're talking about. What happened was I had extended conversations with Andy McPhail, with Jim Henry, and with Dusty Baker at length, and I think we resolved everything. That's pretty much it.
What does that mean, you resolved everything, Steve?
It means exactly what I said.
Do you regret any of your comments? So there you have it. As far as we know right now, Steve Stone will continue to broadcast the rest of this weekend. He has one more game in Sunday's game. As for next year, we don't know what's going to happen. I asked President Andy McPhail, and he said he will talk to Comcast and WGN about the announcers for next year. And I also asked Steve Stone. He said, unless you know something I don't know, the situation has been resolved, and I will be back. As for the Cubs' play on the field, they did look a little unfocused. Mark Atlantic made a couple of errors in this ball game, and once again they just could not muster enough runs. The offense did a disappearing act this entire week, including today. Kerry Wood was a little spotty on the mound, giving up 5 runs, including 2 home runs. And right now I can tell you the look on the Cubs' faces, they know it's pretty much over. This is definitely out of their hands at this point. And we talked to Kerry Wood after the game and asked him if he thought this was a good season.
Well, I mean, if you look back on the history of the Cubs, it's a good season. I don't think we've put back-to-back winning season together since the 70s at some point. But if you ask the guys in the clubhouse, it's going to be a disappointing season. And in my opinion, it is, because I expect to be back in the postseason and with a chance to go to the World Series this year. You know, again, we came up short, and it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, the last week or so, we hadn't played the type of baseball you need to play this late in the season, especially in a race for the wild card. So, you know, we just didn't get it done.
And I think a lot of the guys inside that clubhouse are feeling a little down about that. Todd Walker said he is grieving with the city right now, and we'll have some more of that post-game sound and a lot more on the Cubs coming up at 6:30. For now, though, let's send it back to Dan in the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, Gail. And, you know, it really is kind of sad when you think about it. What has happened here in Chicago, and maybe the team has to get used to this, there's a rising level of expectations. You give us a winning season, you go into the postseason, almost make it to the series. Now you got to come back the next year, and guys, they have to, you know, they have to drop this putt. I'm sorry, and there's no reason for us not to expect them to go ahead and be successful this season.
Well, they went out in the offseason and got all this talent, and I don't think it's unreasonable for people to think World Series. Now, I will say this. People also put aside the injuries they had this year, and there were a lot. Mm-hmm. I just don't think you can completely dismiss that as not being part of the equation here. But all those guys came back, or most of them in August, and they didn't play very well. They haven't played well the last couple months. So
there's a song, the Pretenders have a song, and there's a thin line between love and hate. And Under Dusty Baker, his whole career, he has a great track record in one-run games with the Giants, and then again last year with the Cubs. This year, with the 5-4 loss today, the only teams in the National League that have a worse record in one-run games are Arizona and Montreal, two of the worst teams in the league. So really, I mean, I think that's the difference in this year and last year. Last year, they won the tough games. This year, for whatever reason, they just haven't won the tough games.
Well, Mike, can it be any question that maybe there's some problem with players individually motivating themselves? I mean, this is this is your profession, and injuries happen to everybody.
I don't think it has anything to do with it, Dan. I think that you got to realize the other team's playing ball too. I mean, Mike Hampton didn't know that the Cubs were supposed to win today. He pitched a pretty good game.
Yeah, sure did.
He hit a home run. I mean, it's I don't think they're not motivated. I think they're trying. I think sometimes you get into these situations, I try too hard. I think you don't tell me they don't feel the pressure now.
No.
Everybody feels pressure
and the pain,
and they got to feel the pressure and the pain. They know what this city's going through, but they're going through it too. I mean, it's a bigger loss to them than anybody else.
And they've been playing games they felt like they had to win on a daily basis. Going back really to the trade deadline, August 1st, and now they're finishing up 26 games in 24 days. And I think, maybe showing up and playing those games isn't that too demanding. But as Coach Ditka says, when you have the pressure on you and you're mentally trying so hard, trying too hard. I mean, I think sometimes you can just kind of get fried, and I think that's kind of what these guys
This
are.
is not a monkey. This is a gorilla on their back.
Exactly.
A big one.
Hey, what did you think about the Steve Stone thing? I mean, what did you guys...
Well, why is it being resolved now in game 160? This has been going on all season.
Right.
And, Dusty Baker is a player's manager, okay?
Right.
That's what he prides himself on. That's what he does well. And I think at times he hesitates to step in and take care of a situation. I think he should have stepped in on this one before it got out of hand, and I think it got out of hand.
Or wait until Monday or Tuesday. I mean, one thing that bothers me a little bit, seeing the post game today and talking about it, it's like people are having a funeral, and the doctor hadn't come in and declared it a flat line. I mean, this thing can turn around really fast. I mean, you do the logic, and it doesn't seem like it's going to work out. But
well, here's the thing.
No sport's logical, least of all baseball.
The one thing that Stoney may be guilty of is telling the truth and predicting in baseball games, and I mean nailing it on the head. When certain moves should be made and certain things should happen, he's way ahead of the game, and that's the way fans look at it. I think they look at it the same way, and they analyze it and say, maybe these things should happen.
The players can't. The players or the manager can't get into what Stoney says. That's he has a right to say it. I think the problem is, you got to ignore it. You can't control it. You have no control over it. I mean, it's just you let it go by itself. It bothers me. I mean, I can only say I got a lot of faults, but I never worried too much what the media said about me.
No, you sure didn't.
No. I mean, those televisions have volume knobs and
turn them
off.
down.
I mean, just
what are
turn
they
it
listening
off.
for in the first place, Anyways, we all know Donovan McNabb and the Philadelphia Eagles will fly into town to take on the Bears this Sunday. But here at Comcast SportsNet, we're so excited about the game that we sent our William Jackson to Soldier Field for the earliest pregame in the business. Billy Jack, what do you have for us?
Hey, Dan, what's going on, man? This is the site for Sunday's game, and it should be a good one. The Philadelphia Eagles come in here with a 3-0 record. The Bears 1-2 on this young season. Donovan McNabb, Mount Carmel grad, he's feeling good about himself, and his new best friend, Terrell Owens. These guys have combined for 5 touchdowns so far this year. McNabb has 8 that he's thrown on the year, so he's feeling real good about his game. The Bears really want to get back on track. They lost the season opener to the Lions here at home. Then they went to Green Bay, played well, won a game, but lost to Minnesota this past week. So they want to come back home this weekend and get a win. Lovie Smith said he loves the crowd here. Hopefully they can help out. Now, the biggest news of the day, everybody wants to know the health status of Brian Urlacher. Well, he's been downgraded to doubtful. He was questionable, as that bad hamstring doesn't appear to be getting a whole lot better. But you can look at it another way. Maybe he'll have the extra week now to try and get healthier because they have a bye week next week. That may be the case with Urlacher, and we'll just have to wait and see. But again, they need need all the help they can get, talking about the Chicago Bears. But coming up on SportsNet at 6:30, we have a real nice story about a rookie cornerback, and it should be a good one. Nathan Vasher. We'll have that for you coming up at 6:30 on SportsNet. Dan,
all right, thanks very much, William. And maybe we can get the coach to go over there and give him a little pregame talk.
Yeah.
By the way, we've got John Paxson, the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, going to join us in a little bit, too. We got to take a quick break, but coming up next, I'll conversate with Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb, the QB that's been voted the best offensive player in the NFC so far this season. And speaking of quarterbacks, that leads us to our web poll question of the day. We want to know, which Bear quarterback do you think Jonathan Quinn most resembles? And here are the options. Henry Burris? Oh, no, I don't think so. Chris Chandler, Rex Grossman, Sid Luckman, the great Sid Luckman, or E is Shane Matthews. To chime in, head on over to ComcastSportsNet.com, click on Chicago, and then vote. It's just that simple. We'll have the results later in the show.
NBC Sports Chicago is saying farewell to 20 years of local sports coverage. Celebrate with us as we highlight some of the best moments of the past 2 decades.
Don't stop believing.
Thank you, Chicago.
Congratulations, NBC Sports Chicago, on an incredible run. I have so many great memories of the 14 years I worked at the station. Being at the Super Bowl in '07 when Devin Hester returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown in the rain in Miami. Co-hosting Blackhawks championship celebrations with Pat Boyle. But nothing can top the night the Cubs won the World Series. The atmosphere in the newsroom was electric. Everybody pitching in, trying to capture the excitement of such a special moment in Chicago sports history. Working at NBC Sports Chicago, one of the highlights of my career, and the friendships that I made, well, I'm going to treasure those forever.
Darte la mejor información es nuestro compromiso.
Con las noticias que te ayudan día a día y que afectan tu vida y la de tu comunidad. Cubriendo toda el área de Chicago. Reportando con precisión desde cada lugar de la ciudad.
Y presentes a nivel nacional e internacional.
Cuenta con nosotros.
Para decirte las cosas como son.
En las tardes de Telemundo, las noticias comienzan a las 4.
Chicago is such a special place for me because Chicago was my home. I anchored here for 14 years and we raised our kids here. You're a cute little one.
And now I'm raising my family here. And I get to report on the stories that matter most to our local community.
And when I'm out around the country or around the world, I still have ties to Chicago because I have roots here.
We have roots here.
Watch NBC5 Chicago and NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
I'll show you how to unwind. Come on, babe, let's go outside and take the boat up on the side. I'm ready, I don't wanna wait. Cause the only time I'm feeling free is when I got that ocean breeze, so kicking it out on the lake. Get on board. Got the sunshine and the short line. It's a good life. Get on board, get on board. Have a good time, casting that line. It's a good life. Get on board, get on board. Get on board.
It's a beautiful day to fly.
Now, Donovan, we don't want you doing a moonwalk or an electric slide here in Chicago. We love you, but we don't love you that much. You know that, right?
Well, I'll still do the cha-cha.
Okay. Hey, let's talk a little bit, first of all, about the injury situations in the National Football League. It seems like every time you pick up a newspaper, every time you turn on a television, we're talking about injuries to key players on teams. We found out earlier this week that Rex Grossman is out. You guys found out that your fullback, John Ritchie, was out. What's going on, Donovan?
Well, I mean, you know, that's the NFL, and it's unfortunate that it has to happen to the players that have worked extremely hard throughout the offseason, guys preparing through a training camp with those players. It's tough, and for us, you know, to lose a guy like John Ritchie is definitely tough, a big-time leader, a guy that's done a wonderful job for us in this offense. and has been a role model for some of the younger guys to kind of watch him kind of grow into this offense.
You know,
and it's a rough situation.
Now, you're a big proponent of off-season workouts. You go to Arizona and work out. I don't know if it's altitude, but it's certainly heat. Do you think maybe you guys need to take a little bit more of a break than the off-season?
Well, that would be great. Thanks for bringing that up. You know, if we get a chance to relax a little bit more, I'm all for it. But I mean, you know, I try to go to Arizona to kind of relax and you know, kind of refocus on what I want to do for the upcoming year. Yes, it's a little warm. It's definitely a little warm. But it's something in which gets your mind off of some of the things that may have happened in the past season. So now you get a chance to kind of refocus in on what you want to do.
And what you want to do, I'm sure, is come back home and leave the kind of impression on the Chicago football fans that you've been leaving on the fans there in Philly, and that is that, you know, you'd like to come here and win this game, but it's got to be awfully fun for you to come back to Chicago, and particularly when you have a team that's been playing as well as your Eagles have been playing.
Well, it's definitely exciting to get back home, get a chance to see some family and friends. Also, they get an opportunity to watch me play. Come into Soldier Field, they've done some remodeling, and it looks exciting from the outside. Been a chance to go down Michigan Ave and get a chance to see the actual new stadium. But now I get a chance to get in it. And, you know, it's always an exciting time to play against the Bears. I look forward to it, and I'm sure they look forward to it as well.
Hey, if you'd like to get a whole tour of the city, you know, we can arrange that on Sunday at around noon. You know, we can send you out around the town and have a great time, okay?
I got to go to work at that time. I'm sorry.
I was afraid you were going to say that. Speaking of work now, let's talk a little bit about how much things have changed for you and the Eagles offensively. First of all, with T.O. being there. Personally, I look back at the last 3 NFC championship games, and I saw something missing, Donovan, and that was a toughness out of your wide receivers and a lot of ability. T.O. certainly brings that to you.
He definitely brings that type of approach to us, and I think it's contagious of just his work ethic, his mentality, and his approach to the game. All the other guys have really stepped their games up, and they've really made an impact for us this year so far, and I think it's going to continue to get better. And I look forward to the challenge. I look forward to getting out there and spreading the ball around, giving guys an opportunity to make some big things happen for us, and they look forward to it as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that have been going on in your life. First of all, your mom, Wilma, does a great job, I think, on the Chunky Soup commercials. And I'm wondering if you guys are going to take the Chunky bus over to the stadium, or is she going to make dinner like she normally does for the football team the night before?
She's definitely going to have food for us the night before. So a lot of us probably won't eat the whole day, so that we can go ahead and tear some things up that night, get some good sleep. But that's kind of the ritual that she started in, and players are looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that, and we just can't wait to get to the day.
You got your start here in Chicago at Mount Carmel High School, Frank Linty and the Caravan. And you've always been, you know, concerned about what's going on in the community back here as well as Philadelphia. And your dad, Sam, is a diabetic, and I know you've probably done a lot of different things over the course of the last couple of years to help out in those efforts, have you not?
Yes, I have. And something that we take pride in as a family, the diabetes disease, something that's spreading all across the country, and we want people to be aware of the particular disease. Go out and get tested. Learn more about yourself as well as learn about your family history, and that's something that the Donovan McNabb Foundation is all about, of just making sure we're spreading the word and people be aware of what's particularly going on.
Donovan, what's it going to take for you guys to get past the NFC Championship game and get on into the Super Bowl?
Confidence is a major part in it. When you're going through the year and your confidence level is so high that you just feel comfortable in everything that's going on, and I think that's a major part.
Hey, you know, from a personal standpoint, I've noticed you've changed the do a couple of times. Now you've gone to the braids and everything, and you kind of lost the atom bomb afro. What happened, man?
Well, you know, I was getting talked about once I took my helmet off on the sideline, and just the dents I had in my fro. You know, I wasn't looking so sexy on the sideline anymore. So I went with the braids, laid it down. You know, it's a different type of look. Got the beard growing as if I was about 35, 40. And I'm feeling pretty old right now, so it kind of fits the look.
Yeah, you're feeling pretty old. Every time I turn around, you're throwing another touchdown pass or running for one. I don't think so. I'm not accepting that. You do look low. You look in this offense so comfortable, and with considering the things that you dealt with last year, and that's one of the things I wanted to get to in terms of dealing with criticism and how you handle that, because a lot of people can learn from the way that you handle that. First of all, it was not easy for you. I remember being down on the floor of the draft, the day that you were drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, and the attention that was sent your way from some of the Eagle fans up there, and then to have this Rush Limbaugh thing come up years later and proving yourself all over again. How did you deal with all of that?
Well, I just continue to stay focused. I think, sometimes people have a problem with being humble and being grounded in different situations, so they feel that they can say anything that's on their mind. I always feel that, you have to stay focused, stay on course, stay on the path. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Although things are down at this particular time, it's going to get better. It can't do anything but get better. And we just continue to prepare ourselves to change this thing around, work extremely hard, and I did that. I did some extra work, to try to prepare myself, and things began to pan out. But once it actually happened, it was kind of, like a slap in the face. But, I just kind of brushed it off and just continued to move forward and just let everyone know around me that, hey, everything's going to be all right. So I kept a smile on my face and kind of just moved forward.
Hey, Donovan, I appreciate you so much joining us here on the first show on Chicago Tribune Live. Thanks a bunch, man. I greatly appreciate it, and good luck after this weekend, okay?
Oh, thanks for having me. You are the man, Dan.
All right, coming up next, we'll dissect the Bears and Eagles and the upcoming contest, and we'll get the latest on the Chicago Bulls from Bulls GM John Paxson. So keep it right here.
With his fifth rebound, slams it home. That was one just...
NBC Sports Chicago is saying farewell to 20 years of local sports coverage. Celebrate with us as we highlight some of the best moments of the past 2 decades.
Don't stop believing.
Thank you, Chicago.
Hi, I'm David Kaplan. Congratulations to everyone at NBC Sports Chicago on an incredible 20-year run, providing the best television coverage of sports the city of Chicago has ever seen. I was blessed to be there for almost 15 years, to come into your homes on a nightly basis with Sports Talk Live, and of course, the highlight of my career, November 2nd, 2016, when the Chicago Cubs ended 108 years of insanity and won the World Series. All the best to everyone at NBC Sports Chicago, and thank you for allowing us into your homes every night.
Chicago is such a special place for me because Chicago was my home. I anchored here for 14 years, and we raised our kids here. You're a cute little one.
And now I'm raising my family here, and I get to report on the stories that matter most to our local community.
And when I'm out around the country or around the world, I still have ties to Chicago because I have roots here.
We have roots here.
Watch NBC5 Chicago and NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
The Golf Now app is the fastest, easiest way to go play. With the app, you can instantly book tee times 24/7 at over 9,000 great courses. And with an easy-to-use search and detailed information about each course, you'll find the right place to play and the right tee time every time. Then, check in from your phone and head straight to the first tee. It's the one golf app that does it all. Download the free app and book your round today. Golf Now. Go play.
Here it is. Look how cheap it is.
Go for it, Steph. Be careful what you buy online.
It's finally here.
Counterfeit products are illegal. They are fake and can be damaging to you, your property, and your wallet.
Go, 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 go!
It looks real, but I don't have a good feeling about this.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! No, get out!
Go!
Buying fake products can cost you the health of your face, skin, and eyes, or scar you for life. Real products are tested for safety. Buy the brand. Protect yourself. This message is brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
You're smart. Buy smart.
Go for real.
Go for real. Go for real.
We want to know what you've got to say, and you can reach us on the web. Just head on over to ComcastSportsNet.com, click on Chicago Tribune Live, and submit a question. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Jiggetts, and you're watching Chicago Tribune Live. And you can catch the show Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 6:30, right here on Comcast SportsNet. Now, our guest today is the coach from, of course, the Chicago Bears, ESPN now, CBS, and Coach has got a plethora of different opportunities. And also alongside from the Tribune, Rick Morrissey, and, of course, the GM from the Chicago Bulls. Now he's vice president and general manager. Is that right, John?
My title's vice president of basketball operations.
Oh, so
so
give you the GM title.
There you go.
From the Chicago Bulls, it's John Paxson. And Pax, you know, it's interesting to think back now. They talked about, you know, the great things that have happened in the NBA. Did you know that three-point shot that you made back in 1993 to win the championship has been voted the best three-pointer in NBA history? Did you know that, my friend?
I heard that was on somebody's list, but you know,
yeah, your list.
Yeah, my list especially. But you know, it's all, you know, those things for all players is opportunity. You know, I mean, it's a chance to step up when things are on the line, and you know, I was lucky to have put myself in that position. Even luckier that the ball went in, but you know, obviously a highlight of my career because it was tough at times.
A wonderful thing. We're going to get a spot of news, guys. Our Pat Boyle is over the other side of our Sports Night studios, and he files this report. Patrick, take it away.
All right, Dan, thanks a lot. We got a busy one coming up in about a half hour's time on the maiden voyage of Sports Night. We'll have reports from Soldier Field, Notre Dame, and Wrigley as the Cubs, well, they look to stay in the hunt for the NL wild card. Kerry Wood, rough outing today. Gave up those 5 runs, including 2 jacks to the Braves. 8th and 9-hole hitters. They lose at 5-4. Now the Northsiders need help from the Rockies and Dodgers tonight. News wasn't any better at Hallis Hall. The Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher was downgraded to doubtful for Sunday's tilt against the Eagles. Still bothered by that hamstring injury. Lovey said it'd take a miracle for him to play on Sunday. We'll have that plus a report from Philadelphia to get the Eagles side of this battle on Sunday. And we are live in South Bend. Join Kerry Sayers and me at 6:30 for the very first Sports Night. Dan, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Pat. And you know what? We want to get to some hoops right now, John, and talk about your basketball team now. You know, the youngsters are no longer youngsters. They've been in the league 3-4 years now. How tough has it been to try to, you know, grow these guys from straight out of high school? And I'm talking about Eddie Carey, number 1, and Chandler, number 2.
Well, you know, it presents its own set of challenges because they come into an NBA game without having had any college experience. And the college experience, what that gives them is some discipline, some structure. Demands are made on them, and they're coached. And they really, you know, when you're in a college situation, you can't say anything about what the coach wants you to do. You respond, and it's tough. And, you know, unfortunately for our 2 guys, they've had a lot of change around them. 3 coaches in the time they've been here, you know, just a change in a lot of players. But they both reached the point where, you know, you have to start producing. And I've made the point to a lot of people and to them too that, you know, they came into the league out of high school, they accepted the money, and now, you know, you've got to earn that, and you've got to show that you're ready to play. The problem with our system, the NBA system, is we don't have a minor league to send these guys to let them develop. And if we had that, and they're talking about trying to do something, at least take some steps, then you have a chance to groom them a little bit. But when you don't have that, you rely on them, and you can't win in this league with young guys.
Mike, you didn't have to go through that situation, but you guys did have some players that came out maybe in their junior year, some younger players. Did you see that as a real problem in terms of, you know, where these guys were from a maturity standpoint?
Well, you know, I disagree with the whole system because I don't think any kid should come out until his college class graduates, and that's 4 years after he's in high school. Now, if people don't like it, that's their problem. I don't care about anything. That's my opinion. That's the way the unwritten rules stood in the NFL for years. Hallis was part of that happening, and you can remember Andy Livingston. He didn't go to college, but he could not play pro ball till his college class graduated. So, and he came in, he was a pretty good football player. I just think it's wrong. These kids aren't ready for it, and actually, John knows more than I do about it. But you know, when you see a guy that has success like Kobe, these guys, you say, "Wow!" But you know, there's a lot of them that won't.
There's so few of them that are really ready to do it, and it's you know, it's tough on them to ask them to, you know, to do things that they're really not ready to do, and it's just unfortunate. You know, in a perfect world, we'd have the system where these guys would have to stay in school and have to go to school, and I think what you're seeing with our league is that the game's not as good because these guys aren't as ready to play. And all of a sudden we're throwing them into it, and you know, over time, over the last 7-8 years, we have so many young guys in our league that the game doesn't look like it once did. You know?
Can you say Olympics? I mean, there was a clear example. we couldn't find an outside shooter. And I guess that's one of the things that's very difficult for you guys. You spend a lot of time looking for some outside shooters, don't you?
Well, you look for skilled players, you know, and you have to balance. I think we all get caught up in the athlete, you know, the guy that looks good, you know, but there's a skill level in every sport, football, baseball, basketball, you know, that you have to have, you know, if you're a great athlete, if you're, if you're strong, those things are added bonuses, but you have to have the skill level. And I think, you know, guys like Kobe and, LeBron James, they're exceptions to the rule. Most kids take time for their bodies to develop and to grow into who they're going to be. And unfortunately, we just don't have the time to, you sometimes need 4 or 5 years, but we ask them to do so much in their first or second.
You know, one of the things that occurred to me too, though, and it can be a problem with some of the young guys, is handling that pressure and what they may do off the court, away from the field. And Coach, you had a guy in Ricky Williams that I know that you just adored when you drafted him, and Ricky now is kind of spaced out, and says that he doesn't want to play football again, and goodness knows what he's doing and why.
Well, this is not a dress rehearsal. If you make mistakes like he made, and whether socially or whatever way you want to call it, he's a football player. Now, you can't mix it up with being something else.
Right.
He's nothing else. He's a football player. He's a good guy. He's a football player. But when you get some habits that aren't the best habits, and you say, well, I don't need football, well, you're going to run out of money in a hurry, believe me. And but the thing that bothered me about the Ricky thing is here's a guy that left the Dolphins high and dry. I mean, I don't know how you could trust him anymore. He's not accountable. He's not reliable. He's not dependable. I could say all those words. I mean, if I was his teammate, I wouldn't want him back.
Well, do you think he wants to come back?
No, and let me tell you why. I don't think it's what you think it is. I don't think he likes getting hit anymore.
Well, maybe that's it.
I don't think he likes getting hit. I watched him last year. I watched him when I got him. I watched him last year, and I watched the things he did when he was coming in, how he went down, how he went out of bounds. Do
you think he maybe is because of what happened to Earl Campbell?
I don't question it, but I don't. Earl can
Campbell's
hardly walk.
Suffering now.
And he can hardly walk.
Yep. A lot of times he has to move around in a wheelchair,
But we look at these guys, Jiggs, and we say, millions of dollars. Why would they must be insane to walk away. But why do we look at somebody and say, the guy doesn't want to play anymore?
Ricky's a little different. He's a little bit of an introvert. He doesn't like to be around people. And really, I mean, I tell you, I really love the guy. I mean, I really did. Now it's such a disappointment to me. And it doesn't matter if it's a disappointment to me. It is in the sense that he didn't let me down, but he sure left that owner, his teammates, that coach, everybody in Miami down. That's what bothers me.
Because of the timing of the thing. And I imagine that every time you talk to a player, you have to try to assess a little bit about what their personality is like. And Pax, for you, it's got to be even more difficult because we're talking about the European players now, too. And Andres Nocioni, actually is from South America. But this young man played extremely well in the Olympics. But I'm wondering, how difficult was it for you to try to analyze and break down what kind of a player you were getting?
Well, he's 24, so we have, we at least know who he is. We've seen him for years. And I actually went over to Spain in February and saw his team play in the Spanish Cup, and I fell in love with the kid just because he plays so hard. And, we're in a situation, when you're any team and you don't have a star player and a basketball guy, a guy to hang your hat on, and we had it for years with Michael and with Scotty as well, we're trying to create some identity of, playing the game the right way, have some toughness. Coach just mentioned, in terms of accountability and reliability, they're thrown around so much, but you played, Dan, you know how important they are to the success of a team.
Yep.
And we are trying so hard to find guys that will be accountable, because I think one of the problems we've had, and we tried to do it last year, bringing Scotty back, for some reason, at the beginning of the year with the veterans.
Is he coming back, by the way?
There'll be something determined in the next couple of days.
Because he's about 150 years old.
We could break some news right now.
Yeah, but I'm not allowed to do that. But no, it's just, you've got to create something that is professional, and you got to find guys that like to play the game. And this kid likes to play the game.
Is that why you traded Jamal Crawford? Because I always thought that he was an exceptional basketball player and somebody that could put the ball in the hole.
Well, he is,
and you really need that.
Yeah, he is. And Jamal's a talent. We did it for, there are a lot of reasons you make decisions like that. And for us, looking long-term, some financial decisions that we're going to have to make, that was one thing that was necessary. So, Jamal had a terrific year last year for us, but the fact of the matter is we still won just 23 games. And when that happens, you've got to make some changes, and you got to go about it. You got to have a philosophy. You got to stick to that philosophy and try to do it the way you think is right.
All right, breaking news now. Understand that you're signing Gary Trent. Is that correct, my friend?
Well, he's going to come into camp. He's He's been in the league for 9 years. He's a big, strong, physical kid. The other thing I've always felt we've lacked in the last 4 or 5 years is mental toughness, physical presence. We're trying to bring some guys in who I think are going to be able to weather some down periods that we have during the year. Guys that will not quit working, will keep battling. I mean, and Gary is a tough
Boy, you hit the nail
guy.
on the head with that one, John. You really did.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. What kind of shape is Eddie Curry in?
Eddie's in very good shape. He, when the season ended, I laid it out to him that we wanted him to come in at 285. He's 21 years old, and I just feel at that age he needs to be light on his feet. He's a great athlete, and when he's heavy, he's out of shape, he doesn't move up and down the floor the way he should. So Eddie's done one of the things we really asked him to do this summer, and he's ready to play, and you know, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that he has a real solid year.
Yeah, I think we all are going to do that, believe me. Well, Pax, as a Golden Domer, I'm sure you know that Tyrone Willingham's Fighting Irish will face Kyle Orton and the Purdue Boilermakers tomorrow on South Bend. It's such a big game that we dispatched our Chuck Garfine to the campus to give us an update. Chuck, what's going on campus, my friend?
Well, there is definitely a definitive buzz here at John Paxson's alma mater as the Irish get set to take on 15th-ranked Purdue here tomorrow. For all the success that Purdue has had, they're 3-0 going into this game. They have the second highest-ranking offense in the nation. They haven't won here in South Bend since the end of the Nixon administration. So certainly they want to end all of that tomorrow. They have Kyle Orton, certainly a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback. And tonight at 6:30 on SportsNet, we're going to hear from the Notre Dame players, specifically in the secondary, the guys that are going to have to stop Mr. Orton. And also tonight at 10 on SportsNet, we're going to hear from Danielle Green. She's a woman from Chicago, was a basketball star at Roosevelt High School on the north side, then was a star here at Notre Dame. After that, on to the U.S. Army and Iraq, where last May something happened in battle that has changed her life forever. We'll have that story tonight at 10 o'clock. But for now, live at John Paxson's alma mater. Everyone's been asking about John. They're all big Bulls fans here. We'll send it back to you.
They'll still be firing up jumpers down there, too, believe me. All right, guys, let's get to football again in the Bears. Philadelphia Eagles coming in this weekend, and I know all you guys, you know, around the tube and watching. Thomas Jones, the way I see it, is the one guy that might be able to save the Bears in this game. Mike, I always think that you got to run the football against a team like McNabb and those Eagles.
Well, you do, and they're not a big defense. You have to run, but you have to keep their offense off the field.
Exactly right.
That's the key right now. The Bears have been, you know, they just got a bad break this year. I mean, they've got a lot of injuries at key positions. It's going to be tough to overcome them, but the one way they can overcome them, they got to match up on special teams. Give Philadelphia a long field. Don't give them a short field. If you give them a long field, maybe they'll make a mistake somewhere down the line and run Thomas Jones. So it's real tired.
You know, you bring up the special teams, and Pax is the same thing in your sport, too. You know, if you don't pay attention to the details, and Mike, the Bears have not played well on special teams all the way throughout the preseason and the regular season.
Well, you know, it's like people talk about Kansas City, you know, with their record. Well, their defense is bad, but their defense was bad last year. But what saved them in the beginning of the season? Dante Hall and special teams.
Right.
They won a couple games with him alone. So they aren't doing that anymore. So that's out of the equation. Now the offense isn't quite as good as it was a year ago. The defense is absolutely terrible. So there's why you're 0-3.
And then you look at, you know, who they're facing, the Bears, that is. Donovan McNabb,
Yep.
his numbers are just off the charts this year so far. And he's the kind of guy that can make your life very miserable if you do let him spend some time on the field.
Well, you said something that he looks comfortable. He's having fun again.
Yep.
He didn't have fun for a while. It was tough. That one addition of that one guy has opened up their offense. He makes those other receivers look good now. You know, you're talking about Pinkston's become a good receiver. Freddie Mitchell's become a good receiver. You got two good tight ends. Now, all of a sudden, Buckholder's a better running. I mean, not Buckholder, but I lost his name, too.
Westbrook.
Westbrook is a better running back because they do so many things. I mean, he threw a touchdown in the first game that you tell your quarterback you never run to your right and throw the ball across your body. But you know why? Because T.O. had enough sense to uncover the back, and he got it. And I mean, it's just, it's hard to defend.
For all the crying that T.O. did when he was in San Francisco, he certainly has turned into a great football player. Not that he wasn't great at San Francisco, but with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's really settled down and become a leader. Let's take a look at some of Donovan's numbers and see just how these two teams rank. And first of all, against the Bears. And here's Donovan's numbers: 74 out of 106 for Jeepers Creepers, almost 70% completion rate, Mike, 900 yards, 8 touchdown passes. Doesn't have a pick yet this year. Maybe the Bears can change all of that. And a QB rating of 122. That is off the charts.
That's obscene.
Well, I had quarterbacks in New Orleans. You couldn't put that all together for 3 years and get up to 122.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is you look at, we talk about their offense and the numbers that they produce, but yet still, when you look at the Bears and their run game has been extremely productive. And the one thing I think is if you can run the ball like we were talking about earlier, come back with play action pass, which is the old theory going back for years in football, then they've got a shot at keeping these guys off the field and working that defense over pretty good.
If they had the team they came out of training camp with on the field, they'd play these guys well. Both the corners, they lost both of them. They lost a heck of a safety in Mike Brown. They lost a quarterback. They lost a middle linebacker. You know, so you know, you're saying, you know, this team they're going to be hard pressed. First of all, if you think Kirsch is going to line up over Tate, you're crazy.
No,
he'll be on the other side, and Mitchell better be ready because it could be a long day.
It could get really ugly really fast. But you know the thing that surprised me, and Rick, I'm not sure if you were at the game up there in Minneapolis, but the fact that the Bears, going through all that they did, they came out and played pretty tough up there against the Vikings.
Yeah, they surprised me. I thought the first game, and I think we talked about it, the Green Bay, I thought they were going to get killed. And they didn't. And I give them a lot of credit for that. I think they're running out of weapons now, and I don't think it's going to work out this way. But it's an interesting town here because I even sense buzz about Jonathan Quinn, you know? It's a Bears town.
We're drinking our Bear Kool-Aid again.
Yeah, I mean, it cracks me up. And in my mind, I look at it like, you know, people, it's like passing an accident. People are slowing up to wait to see what's going to happen, you know? That's how I look at it. Well, we'll see. Maybe he'll surprise us.
The hardest thing, I think, great guy for the Irish pubs. I mean, they got to love him in there.
I think the hardest thing that, you know, you have to do, though, from a personnel standpoint, and I'm sure, John, you go through this on a day in and day out basis, is to try to make sure that bench is as strong as possible, because you are going to have some guys get nicked up every now and then.
Well, you know, I'm like any fan of Chicago. You know, I follow the Bears, and I agree with you about how they've surprised you and how hard they played, and staying in that game in Minnesota and all that. But you know what? It's about if you feel like you've picked the right 53 in football, or whatever it is, and you know there's going to be injuries, and you got to bring guys on, and they're professional. They know they have to be ready for opportunity. So you know, I think coaches are always talking to guys who come off the bench, and they're always trying to keep them prepared, keep them into the game. You know, I know in basketball, our coaches will go over situations, you know, things to look for. So, you know, to me, it's as much a sign of that these guys are well prepared from their coaching staff, they're professional in their approach. So, but it's tough in any sport. Once you start getting key injuries, you know, you're just sticking, you know, trying to plug holes all over the place, and usually that doesn't last very long.
And that is a brutal thing because the other guys smell blood in the water. We're going to step aside for a minute and pause for the cause. When we return, though, we'll find out if the coach, a former Bear, got a special invite from Tiger. I'll explain it a little later on. Ooh, good shot.
Woods will have that stay a couple behind.
NBC Sports Chicago is saying farewell to 20 years of local sports coverage. Celebrate with us as we highlight some of the best moments of the past 2 decades.
Don't stop believing.
Thank you, Chicago.
Name it. I cannot even begin to express my appreciation, my love, my gratitude. 20 years. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without all of you. It's not just about the network. It's not just about the teams and the sports and the franchises that we covered. It was about the people that made it what it was. So to all of you, I love you. I appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you next time.
Super Bowl champions. Dallas 52. Buffalo 17.
Sports Sunday welcomes the football expert, Coach Wanstead. Sundays at 10:35 on NBC Chicago.
This little guy is one lucky puppy. He has the chance to do something amazing. Become a guide dog. A lifeline to someone who is blind. Or a service dog. A lifesaver to a veteran with a disability. He's on a mission, and we'll make sure he gets there. You can help. Visit guidedogs.org to learn more.
Chicago is such a special place for me because Chicago was my home. I anchored here for 14 years and we raised our kids here. You're a cute little one.
And now I'm raising my family here. And I get to report on the stories that matter most to our local community.
And when I'm out around the country or around the world, I still have ties to Chicago because I have roots here.
We have roots here.
Watch NBC5 Chicago and NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Who am I? I'm a mom.
I am an abuelo. And I am a big hugger.
I'm a sister, tía y amiga.
I'm a New Rican, and I'm the best of both worlds.
I am an entrepreneur.
The family translator.
I'm the #1 soccer fan.
I'm the life of the party. I am Afro-Latina.
I am crazy about Latin food.
So good. I'm a passionate dancer.
I am all that I am. All that I am. Hispanic heritage.
Celebrating all that we are.
And now for the results of our poll question. Who do you think Jonathan Quinn will remind you of? And here's what you told us. Shane Matthews leading the way with 46%. He's followed by Chris Chandler and then Henry Burris. Lucky Sid Luckman and Rex Grossman followed far behind. Thanks for letting us know what you think about that. Welcome back. And I'd like to say hello to Mike Ditka, of course, Rick Morrissey from the Tribune, and John Paxson from the Bulls. Guys, once again, thanks for stopping by today on our first day here on the air. I wanted to get to something that, I'm contemplating. Is there a formula for it? John, you've gone through it. Mike, you've gone through it. Is there a formula for championships? Is there something that you have to do as an organization? Is there something that, this point that you have to get to where you become truly a championship organization? And how do you get there?
Well, there's a lot of things. John mentioned a word that people don't mention a lot, mental toughness. Everybody talked about the Cubs last year, but when I watched Florida, those guys wanted the ball in their hand when the game was on the line. They wanted the opportunity to be at bat with a guy on base. I mean, to me, when you're a professional, you want the ball in your hand. And John made the shot. Michael wants the ball in his hand. To me, that's the guy that you want. Whether it be Donovan McNabb or whether it be Peyton Manning, they want the ball in their hand when the game's on the line. And you got to that attitude's got to be created. I mean, guys have to have talent. I'm not talking about the talent, but there's got to be
that extra element, that little extra element that takes
you over the top. It's got to be important. Yeah. It's got to be the most important thing in the world to do.
Yeah, there's no secret formula in our league right now. Everyone's using Detroit as the model because they won the championship last year, and they supposedly did it without a superstar. Let me tell you, they got some pretty good players on that team, but they
just
are
a few.
But I just look back at our league for the last 25 years, and most every team that wins has some type of edge to them. And I think it's created over time. It's created mostly by putting some system in place that guys buy into. You definitely need. I mean, it's different in other sports. I know in football now with the changes in free agency, you put a team together,
and all that,
right? But I think in our sport, you've got to try to find a way to get a group of guys eventually that you believe in and let them grow, take their lumps a little bit together. But it's. To me, and maybe I'm a little naive, but I think it can be fairly simple if you find the right people that are committed to the game and care about the game.
Because they make it happen.
They do. They take pride in it, and it's not all about the money. When you win, the money comes to you and all those things. But I don't think it's a secret formula at all.
Was it easy for you to identify, Mike, the guys that were going to take you over the top?
Yeah, those are the guys that hung out in the bar.
Yeah.
No, I just want to make one other point too. They hang together. I mean, I don't see a lot of that today with football players. Look like everybody grabs their briefcase, Rick, and they go their own way. But listen, our guys hung together. I mean, it was
sometimes
nice.
Too much.
Maybe too much. But you're right. But they hung together. But I think that creates something off the field. And I always told them this. I said, it's not essential that you love every one of your teammates, but it is essential that you respect every one of them for the job they're doing, for the effort they're putting into it, for the time they're spending in meetings on the field. And I think that's the most important. You got to respect hey, if I don't respect you and I'm playing next to you, I'm probably not going to play very good.
There's something missing with this Cubs team. I mean, this team has all the talent in the world. And something's missing. And I think back to Game 6, and I know last year, and I know people have been about Steve Bartman forever.
Yeah, forget about that.
In my mind, the key moment there was Moises Alou's reaction to Steve Bartman, because I don't think it would have happened. And I think, we talk about attitude and emotion and the effect it has on people. I saw a team just deflate right there when it happened, and it fell apart from there.
Because there were ample opportunities to go and still win the game.
And I think there was a carryover.
Hey guys, let's take a look at some of the other items in the news today. Ernie Els leads after 2 rounds of the American Express Championship. Tiger Woods is at 6 under, 5 shots off the pace. Now, as for Tiger's wedding plans, he told the assembled press that he does plan to wed his fiancée, Ellen Nordegren, but the press would be the last people he'd ever tell when and where. Now, Mike, we have to know, inquiring minds want to know, with your golf game, did you get an invite to the wedding?
He's media.
Did I get an invite to the wedding?
No, he's not media.
Yes, he is.
For Tiger, he's not.
Are you kidding me? No, I didn't get an invite to the wedding, and I probably won't.
Could you believe he's played as well as he has with the back problems? You know, granted,
he's a great
got the
player.
back problems because he's sleeping on his private jet.
And hey, they're all good. I mean, people say, why is Vijay Singh so good? Because nobody practices more than him. He's unbelievable. So whether you like him or you don't like him, he's pretty darn good.
Yes, indeed he is. Well, from the NFL, the league that has told Broncos quarterback Jake Plummer that he has to lose the number 40 on his helmet that the teams used to open the season as a way to honor fallen teammate and Cardinals teammate, that is Pat Tillman. Coach, your thoughts on that?
They really dropped the ball.
They did.
The league really dropped the ball. Really, it's no big deal. That little 40 on the helmet means nothing. And for those who choose to honor this young man, and he is true as an American hero, because what he gave up to do what he did. I mean, I don't think people really understand that, Dan, how significant that is. And I never knew Pat Tillman to know him personally. I just coached at New Orleans when we coached against him, and God, I love to watch him in films because he would light people up every chance he got. He was like a madman out there. And you just got to like people like that. I mean, I don't care if they're on your team or the other team.
But where do you stop? I mean, where do you stop? One guy wants to put number 40 on his helmet. Somebody else wants to put...
yeah, but it's unusual to have a player leave the league while he's still got years left. Make a commitment to serve his country and lose his life in that service. And I think it was really, it was a dramatic thing. And does that little sticker really bother anybody right now? No.
No, but again, somebody comes up with something else the next time.
Well, you could have, you could have 100 decals, I'm sure.
Well, they do it in college. You see all the decals all over the helmets. Everybody's cool.
That's true. But I always, the thing with the numbers and the honoring people, we know you honor the guy. And what does a number mean?
Exactly right. Hey, John, a 43-year-old Dennis Rodman's going to come back and play basketball.
That's what I hear.
I'm surprised you didn't grab him. Guys, thanks very much for coming by. Greatly appreciate it. Coach Rick, John, and, of course, Phil Rogers from the Chicago Tribune. That's it for our first show here on Comcast SportsNet. It's now time for Sports Night. So long.
As a kid who grew up in Northern Illinois with very vivid memories of cheering for the Chicagoland sports teams their entire childhood, I can honestly say it was the thrill of a lifetime being able to work at CSN Chicago. I felt re-energized by the fan base, and it reminded me why I fell in love with sports in the first place and wanted to pursue this career. Not a lot of people know this, but when I got the job offer from ESPN, I sat in Kevin Cross's office, my boss at the time at CSN, and cried a lot. I was so torn about leaving Chicago. I was so torn about leaving that company because I really loved what I did. And I loved the people that I worked with. I feel so lucky to have been able to be a part of CSN's journey and a part of their history. And I hope that at some point we made really indelible memories for other sports fans in the Chicagoland area.